What I wanted to ask you guys, and kind of going back to the whole reason this whole gym metaphor, what I noticed at my gym particularly, because of the bad weather, we didn't really experience as much newcomers to the gym. Maybe people signed up, but they didn't show up. So, what could be? How do you guys respond to the rainy days when it comes to the New Year's resolutions?
If you got something off the rip, you can go. I'm still thinking about some other stuff you was talking about.
Man, so the rainy days, it's funny, man. My brother Choir, man, he said in one of his verses, man, he's like, you a soldier, I thought I told you can't stop because it's raining. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is like, you got to learn in every season, God remains the same, right? His plan don't change. He ain't gonna stop the game on account of rain. There ain't gonna be no snow days. There ain't gonna be none of like my call on you is still my call.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just keeping that in mind that while I'd really like to just lay here and veg out, that there's somebody that's depending upon my obedience. There's somebody that's dependent upon my obedience, whether that be my family, my immediate family, or it could be somebody else. It's just, it's funny. I've often looked back on some of my childhood, like family photos and stuff, and just kind of like looked at us and just seeing where it is that we came from, and how like I often look at where I'm at and I'm like, man, I shouldn't even be here. But I honestly believe that it's because of somebody else's sacrifice, somebody else's prayer, somebody else's, fasting, somebody else's, that was literally praying for me that I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? We heard Pastor John talk about how, he, on this side of his miracle that he's out places and people like, hey, Pastor John, is that you? And they're people that he's never met before, and they're like, man, we were praying for you. And I just think about like, I honestly believe that God has his way of setting people up. Like there's just people that he'll put you on their heart. You know what I'm saying? There's people that he's put on our hearts that don't even know. You know what I'm saying? People that we might have met once and they have no clue that we remember who they are. You know what I'm saying? Because God, for whatever reason, has burned them in our conscience. But they don't remember the encounter that we had with them. And that's because that I believe that God does that kind of stuff because, he'll bring them back to remembrance and be like, hey, pray for that person. You know what I'm saying? Or, just pray in the spirit because it might be something that they need, you know what I'm saying, in that moment. So I just, the rainy days, they're going to come and they'll go, you know what I'm saying? But I need to be on at all times, right? Not everything's going to be convenient. If I wait for a perfect condition, I'm not going to get anything done, right? And so at the end of the day, it's like if there's going to come a point, and this kind of goes back to the whole thing of the age situation, right? I think it was Michael Jai White talking about it the other day with Vlad. He was talking about, dude, you're like 55 years old and you're like in like, you're like in excellent physical condition. He's like, how do you do that as a 55-year-old dude? And he's like, man, he says, one of us, or he's like, all of us at some point in time, we're going to have that day where we're going to be walking with a cane. or we're, you know what I'm saying, we're going to need to be assisted to move around. And he says, you know, there's people that always say, man, I can't find time to work out, or I don't have time to do this. And he's like, to be honest with you, physically taking care of yourself and being active is the only thing that gives you time. You know what I mean? And so he's like, all of us are going to have that cane day one day. And it's like, man, right now, while it may suck that you know, the experience of running may suck, he's like, there's going to be a day where I won't be able to run. Right. And so we have to keep those things in mind. Like, who knows to say that tomorrow when it's sunny that you're going to be able to do what it is that you could have done today. So just do it in the rain. You know what I'm saying? Do it in the rain.
Yeah, that's fire. For me, when I think rainy days, when I don't want to do nothing, I'm usually feeling like lower than usual, right? And I think for myself, I've always kind of had this mentality of like just endure, suffer long, you know, just continue to be consistent. But I'm in this new season of life where I'm kind of starting to acknowledge how I'm feeling and then communicate about it rather than like not communicating about it. Particularly like for like in my marriage with Nadia and I on our rainy days of marriage, like rather than just enduring and waiting for it to get better, like let's talk about this. Let's actually acknowledge how we're feeling. Let's communicate in the moment, you know? And what that's done for me lately is it's helping me like translate that into communicating how I'm feeling with God and telling him how I'm feeling when I am having those rainy days. And bruh, God is faithful. And he ends up sending somebody who was thinking about me, texts me, sends me, you feel me, some type of encouragement, lets me know how I've encouraged them somewhere along their journey, you know, and it's like, it's actually enough fuel to the fire to get me through to the next point. But so I think for me, it's acknowledging like where I am and praying to God about that. And I'm just been having a dialogue about that because I used to feel bad about it, you know, like when I felt low or when I didn't feel my best, and it's like, I don't really want to go anymore. It's true. You know what I mean? Like there were plenty of times last year where there were plenty of excuses where Watch Me Develop could have been like, you know what, we going to take a 2-3 week hiatus, you feel me? Or maybe we won't come back until to be determined. You know what I mean? And all that stuff would have been real. So I don't think that we have to not acknowledge those things. But I feel like when we do acknowledge those things and when we're falling short, that's when God comes through and he's like, nah, I'm going to carry you through. And then you'll know it was me that carried you through that season and through that moment. So
you'd be surprised how much healing can happen when you're real with the things that are going on.
Yeah.
Because I think for a lot of, especially us men, when, you know, it tends to be our response to it, either respond in anger because we're afraid of something happening or responding in a type of way that kind of seems more masculine because we don't really want to face what we want to face.
Yeah.
Or some of us that maybe are facing addiction might want to drown what we're feeling in some sort of alcohol or some sort of addiction, whatever it might be. That I feel the same way over this past year, just being able to process and understand what I'm going through and understanding my emotions and being able to articulate that. And like you were saying, like I was listening to you talk earlier, Donald, just like how good God is by kind of interweaving all of our faith in the sense of like, you might have somebody in your heart that you want to intercede for because God is like, there's going to come a time where I'm going to send you to go talk to that person. Or it might just be like, this is why I told you it's not good to be alone because you're meant to be in community. Because while one of you guys are weak, you know, you have a brother that's strong. Or if it comes to your marriage, you know, maybe your spouse is going through something that you be the one that's strong for them. And I know that's helped me too with my marriage too, is just now that I've been able to articulate how I feel and explain to my wife things that I've been going through, she's been able to be like, before, like she knows I'm about to go into like that like rainy day. She's like, are you okay? And she asked me okay before I know I'm not okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no,
I'm not okay.
Sometimes it is like that. It's like, I'm not okay. Because it's like, it was Sunday. It was the first day that Pastor preached. And when she asked me in the parking lot, I was so like taken aback. I'm just like, what do you mean? Are you asking him okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. It's Sunday. I'm good. We had a good service. And she's like, no, like it's been a long year. I'm like, it has.
Yeah.
And so, just one of those things, like you were saying, Don. Like, you know, just because it's a rainy day doesn't mean that you have to give up. But at the same time, like it's a two-sided coin. It's like you don't have to give up, but you also don't have to act like you're not going through what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think there's still strength in both of those views and both of those understandings of both sides of the coin.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
Even to lean into that, because I don't know about, there's a few things that happen there. Like, I'm sure when she asked you that gives you, like, freedom to, like, express, like, okay, this is a safe space for me to express, like, what's going on to me. Maybe when you thought, and sometimes also as men, like, we know there's so much to get done. You know, we're so task-oriented and what's next that we're not present enough to acknowledge, like, how we're doing right now. For me, it could be a storm up here, you know what I'm saying? But we think about everything that has to happen tomorrow, you know? But also, too, like, for me, when it comes to my brothers, you know, mentors, like the people I look up to, for them to, like, peel back the curtain and say, like, no, this is what I was going through at that season. Or this is what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then to push through and push past that gives other people fire. You know what I mean? Like, when I read that post and what you was going through, it was like, dang, bro. Because a lot of times, Jay, I'm not gonna lie, bro, you be out here Terminator with it, you know? Like, you don't stop. You feel me? You keep going. It's like, oh, I can do everything right now, you know? So to hear that you don't always feel it, and you're not always feeling it, and even you, Donald, you know what I'm saying? I was telling you when we went to dinner the other day, like, you are so, like, get it done. No excuses. You feel me? Like, get there, whatever it takes. It's like, okay, it's nice to hear when I really didn't feel like going today because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh, dang, that's hecka relatable. I don't feel like going either. It's like, oh. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, cool. You feel me? It's normal.
Yeah.
But it's like, just because I feel it doesn't mean I can't push through it. You know what I mean?
90% of the time, I do not feel like, 90% of the time, I do not feel like.
Yeah.
Straight up. It's just a matter of getting it done. What's interesting about this whole rainy day analogy is I kind of want to propose a question. So I want to ask you this. Josh, do you remember what the weather was when your dad died?
The weather. Yeah. It was a nice day. It was a nice day that day, for sure.
Right. And that's significant to you because you remember that day, right?
For sure.
Right, but that's the whole thing is like, I don't even know if your dad remembered that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we don't know what the weather's going to be like when it's our last day.
Right.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And so for us to have the audacity to be like, oh, it's raining, I'm cool. I'm gonna just sit this out. Or whatever, I don't feel like I'm gonna just sit this out. Like, no, we don't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're waiting for the sunshine, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even know if we're gonna get to see the sunshine. Right?
Yeah.
Right now, like, it's literally storming outside right now.
Yeah.
We don't know if we're gonna get to see another clear sky.
Right.
We don't. And for us to have the audacity, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like when it's all said and done, you know, we don't know the number of our days. That's God's business. You know what I'm saying? And so our job is to be faithful stewards of what it is that He's given us. And He's given us this day. And it's no coincidence that the day that He's given us, He's expected us to rejoice and be glad in it.
Right. Right.
To rejoice and be glad in it. Even if you feel sorrowful. What Pastor Say says, sometimes God has to remove the feelings from it. You know what I'm saying? He'll remove the feelings from it for you to see if you have what it takes within yourself to be faithful to what the truth is. And so, you know, it's you know, that thought crossed my mind when you know, as we're talking about the whole weather situation, right? The weather comes and goes. You know what I'm saying? It changes. You know, reminds me of Ivy's song, you know, In the Rain, right? So he's talking about that, and I'm like, it's interesting that he's talking about being in the rain, but I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, because the whole ordeal that he's talking about took place during summer. And it was just funny, like, I'm like, well, actually it was kind of a weird summer that summer. Like it rained. And it just shows you like the weather, we have no control over it. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna come and go. But just because it comes and goes and just because it's volatile doesn't mean that we can't exhibit the attribute of our Father and be consistent. You know what I'm saying? And stay the same and be steady.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the point in time where Jesus was asleep on the boat. And I've heard it preached before. I think it was Pastor Nestor when he came up years ago. He had preached that message and was just talking about, didn't Jesus say, let us go across the lake? Like, he already told y'all what you're going to do.
Let's go to the other side.
And go to the other side. He's like, I already told you where we're going. He's like, just because the storm showed up doesn't mean that my word isn't still true. And so it's like, can we trust in God's word in the midst of the storm? And yes, we can trust in God's word because his word never fails.
Yeah, and I think that's so key because when those storms come, those rainy days come, sometimes you have to sit back and reflect on, like, why? Like, what's the reason why you're really doing whatever it is that you're doing? Because if you stop when there has a rainy day, how strong was it in the first place? And it's like, okay, the storm has come, right? Oh, my gosh, are we going to drown? And then you sit back and you think, it's like, well, Jesus already said we was going to cross. So sometimes I think those rainy days are for us to go back and remember what God said, to revisit, the vision, and then to go deeper in that and to have a deeper, like, come out on the other end with deeper faith too, every time. But something else that's been, I think, like a key element about this too is just intentionality. Like, how intentional are we about the things that we set out to do, right? Because I believe the more intentional you are, the heavier you are. Like you said, you guys were clearly so intentional about the vision that y'all casted. There was no need to recast another vision this year. You know what I mean? Because of how in-depth y'all went into the core values of your family, how it lines up with the Bible, what God's word says about it. It's like, all we have to do is continue to pray over this. Like, the seed that went into the ground, you know what I mean? That was proper. That's what it was supposed to be. Let's just water that.
Yeah.
No need to go and plant another one. You know what I mean? Let's just continue to focus on that. I think, like, that year, bro, Pastor John, man, that's always going to, like, stain in my mind, that year of 2018, the year of intentionality. Like, every message that came forth in the weeks after about just bathing it in prayer, being intentional and writing it down, like, because you can write down the goal. Oh, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But when you start to break those things down and get deeper and deeper into the why is it that I really want to do this, or what is it that God is saying about this? Like, the deeper you go, I feel like is also the further you go. Just like an arrow, the further you pull that thing back, the further it's gonna go forward. So it's the why. Why? What's the scripture? Man, the last person I heard say it was Pastor Kaya. But it's like, if you falter, if you fail in like hard days,
if you faint in the day of adversity.
Yeah.
Talking about if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, but I don't think it's even the rain. I don't think it's the rain that makes people want to quit, though. That's the thing. I don't think it's the rain, because we know that rain is good. I don't even think it's the excuse. It's not even the rain. It's the flood and the mud that people don't like dealing with. I'm just being honest with you. It's the flood and the mud that people do not like dealing with.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, because we know the rain. Like, we need rain. We live over here in California. It's been drought season after drought season, all that kind of stuff. And we know that the rain is beneficial. But what I think people don't like dealing with is the effects that come, because it's like, we know we need rain, so pray for rain, right? We know we need it because it's going to cause things to grow. We pray for it, but we don't like the stuff that comes along with that. And the same thing with us, like the dream. Yeah, we got the dream. We want the vision. Yeah, we want it all, but we don't like the mess and stuff that's in the process. Oh yeah, we want a new building. We want a new. We don't like the stuff that goes along with. We don't like that there's sawdust everywhere. We don't like that there's pieces of scrap metal everywhere from us cutting these frames. We don't like all that stuff that goes with it.
I have flashbacks every now and then because I'm here often, and I think to myself, not trying to pat myself on my own back, but I look at these walls, I look at the roof, I look at the paint, I look at everything.
If
and
these
go,
walls could talk,
right? Literally. But nah, bro. I remember this all being bones. I remember this all being concrete. I remember this all being ditches dug and us bringing in drywall through that door right there. Mm-hmm. I remember all that, and it's just like you're talking about age and time going by, and saying, "Man, look at how far time has come."
Yeah,
I had a moment, obviously, when this airs, dude. I had a moment when my daughter turned 5 because I'm just like, me and Erica talk about all the time, like you had said earlier. We were just talking in the pool at Allen Witt when we met. Now we got 2 kids, bro.
Yeah.
Like sitting here married, talking about life.
Yeah.
And now we get this 5-year-old. It's just like, man, like before you know it, like just time will be away from you. And like I sit here and look at, all the work that the men and women did here to put these walls up and to make this a place of worship and make this a place where it can be generational for their kids to grow and walk with Christ. And it's just like,
dude, not even that. Just when I saw Sunday when pastor's up there preaching, right? Your dad, my uncle, our pastor, right? He's up there preaching and literally seeing him standing on prayers, right?
Yeah.
We literally standing on prayers. He's preaching on prayers. Like I remember before the carpet was even laid over the altar, like we all went up there and we wrote our prayers on there, like just what we're believing God for, right? And just seeing him literally standing on prayers as he's just a living miracle and an answered prayer. You know what I'm saying? It's just it was surreal seeing that.
And what would be wild, going back to the whole point of you having people on your heart to pray for, is if the literal prayer for his health was on that stage.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
And
man.
it's like, I don't know, man. It's crazy.
I think the flood and the mud, and also the less than ideal circumstances. I think
getting wet,
visibility, all of that. You know what I mean?
Extra precautions, driving slower, taking a longer time to get to your destination.
All of that. Because think about it, like, I'm sure when it comes to getting something done, we would love if it was ideal circumstances the whole way through. If it was the ideal weather conditions the whole way through. But the truth of the matter is that that's not how things go. There's going to be a storm. There's going to be some mud. There's going to be some flood. There's going to be some rain. So I think that's just another reason, bro, why we really have to dig deep, on the why. What is this going to be? What has God called this to be? Because it's not going to be ideal weather, and it's not going to be ideal conditions. And when that comes, it's like, are you still going to go? That's why when we stand on the altar, you feel me, it's in sickness and in health. I wasn't at church on Sunday, but I was watching it. You feel me? And when he asked Pastor Kaya, why are you beside me? And she said, in sickness and in health, bruh, it's the realest thing I'd ever heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do we part. Like, I'm committed. This is what I am committed to doing. This is the oath that I took when I stood before God and I said, I do.
And these witnesses.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, because it's not always going to be ideal. Right. You feel me? Even in regards to like marriage, I doubt that's something that she considered. You know what I'm saying? When she was standing up there on that altar, like, oh yeah, one day, he's probably gonna have a health transfer. I know what I'm signing up for, right? And he was like, we don't know what we're signing up for. When it comes to all relationships and all endeavors, like we have no idea, but we have to be committed to seeing it through.
Facts.
True that, man. But thank God for a new year, man. We made it.
Yeah.
We here, and we here in the rain and less than ideal conditions.
Yeah.
But we still gonna make it do what it do.
If I can move the camera up right now, you can see the water dripping.
Nah, man, we here, man. WMD, we ain't going nowhere as long as the Lord say so. You know what I'm saying? Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Feel me?
That's a literal statement.
Literal statement, because the creek over by my house is swelling.
Same as mine.
Yeah.
Nah, man, but we thank God for this rain, and we thank God for a new year, man, and just more opportunity to develop and grow. Because, shoot, man, to make the flowers bloom, you need the sun and the rain.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's all a part of the development, man. The photosynthesis, all that good stuff, all the metamorphosis and metamorphosizing and growing and
Mitochondria.
all that stuff.
I just still worried.
Don the Baptist, 1/3 of Watch Me Develop podcast, here with my brethren, John Butcher Jr., Stephen Joshua Bonds.
Season 2.
Man, we appreciate y'all hanging in with us, man. We got more coming for you, the season 2 of WMD, man. We'll see y'all next time. Thank you for rocking with us. One love.
Out.
Peace.